was reading the script and thinking about Veronica and all the Veronicas that I know, because she reminds me of so many strong, Black, educated pillars in the community. You know, Veronica is very community oriented. What she does is not just for herself, you know, is to uplift her community, to move Black people forward, and to help us not assimilate, but to be, you know, revolutionaries of our own life. And I think that I was drawn to that. I was drawn to just how much of a modern day superhero she was and she is. And one of the other things that's super important is how she deals with, you know, an oppressed system, a system that does not work for her. And I think Veronica wanting to dismantle those systems that were not built for her with us in mind is something that we need and something that we need to see more of.
I actually think I read it that within an hour. When I was halfway through it, I was like, no matter what, I'm getting on the phone with these guys, because the script was already of that caliber. It was that high. I was like, okay, this is something I want to at least go further with. And by the time I got to the end of it, I said, yeah, I haven't read anything like this before. And then the next day, I got on the phone with Gerard, and we started talking. And I'd probably say within the first 5 minutes of that conversation, I think we both knew that I was going to be playing Jasper. It was that important.
Just in the first 3 pages, I knew I had to do this, and I knew I had to be there when they're shooting this because of how much attention and time and space and really power they gave to imagery in the script alone. I knew I had to be here to see the way they would shoot that. And of course, the story is incredible and shocking and pulls you in, you know, multiple directions in such an incredible way, in such an entertaining way, in such a sad way. You feel almost too many things at one time. And just, you know, and I tend to read scripts as the audience, not as the player. And just the journey I went on sort of mentally and spiritually and physically, really, while reading, I knew I had to be a part of it.
You're from Virginia, right? I can tell. You're special.
We are the future.
We felt a huge responsibility to the cast. They put a lot of trust in us. These characters are, you know, they're strong characters. It can be divisive, and we wanted to make sure that they understood that we knew that they were putting a lot of trust in us, and we felt a huge responsibility to them throughout, from pre-production all the way through post, to make sure that we delivered on what we promised.
I was familiar with their film Against the Wall and the work that they had done with Jay-Z. So I knew, you know, that this film was super important for them to execute, and, you know, just seeing their passion for wanting to make sure that every detail was paid attention to, I really respected and appreciated that.
Janelle actually was, I think, possessed by the ancestors. You know, when you see her in this role, the performance is breathtaking, it's extraordinary, it's so authentic because she was deeply committed to everything, the rigor that the role required. And so again, that was about, hopefully, you know, us creating a safe space for the artist to be able to take on the difficulty of these characters in a way that felt authentic and real.
Diversity behind the camera, and in every single department. Every single department means that we get to tell more of our stories, and stories that you don't know even existed. There are so many things that people don't know about because they're not looking, or because those people who are knowledgeable or have lived that life that's super interesting, they don't have the mic.
The concept of honoring Black women made me want to be a part of this movie. Black women from the past, the present, and the black women who will shape the future. Women like Maxine Waters, women like my grandmother, women like my ancestors. And I think this is an important film that will speak to how the past directly influences our present and our future. I think I also was attracted to the themes of the film. You know, systemic racism, microaggressions, white supremacy. And I think, especially with the time that we're in, it's important to shed even more light on these toxic issues. The burden that black women have to carry to deconstruct white supremacy and racism every single day doesn't get talked about enough. And I felt like this was an opportunity to shed light on what we're going through daily.
To kind of expand on the conceit of the film a little more, what we wanted to do was kind of put a modern context for people around the horrors of slavery and allow people to view it through a modern lens, so it's easier to sympathize and understand what happened. I mean, in the American school system, Black history begins at slavery. There's nothing before. And so this film kind of allows you to understand what that would be like to be plucked from your family, your job, your entire world environment, and put into this horror, and how horrific that was, and how long-lasting the effects.
911. What is your emergency? Hello? Hello? Hello?
From my first read, I had a visceral reaction to it, and I was like, wow. And I wouldn't have felt confident with anyone else directing their script because it was so theirs. And they came to it with the film so fully formed, how they want it to look, how these characters want to be.
It really kind of startled me, the script. I think Christopher and Gerard just created something that I had never read before, but as an audience member I had been kind of hungry for a long time. So it was a clear yes in my mind. So it's always an awkward, meeting with directors when you kind of try to determine how much hunger you should put on the table, sort of like, should I really tell them how much I really want to do this, or are we both going to play it cool? But luckily it was all just kind of authentic love and, good questioning. So I'm glad that they said yes.
I think it's always an important story to be told, because the way that we're talking about the plantation that we're shooting on being preserved and to keep the history alive, that's another way that we're doing that with making this movie. There are so many stories that have been passed down through literature, through film, and so we're just kind of adding to that library of that and connecting it in modern day language, so that people can reflect on what's happening now in society and how there's a trickle-down effect and what we can do to continue to move forward and make even bigger change.
The things that Antebellum deal with, the themes that this film deals with are white supremacy, microaggressions, systemic racism, and the burden that Black women carry to deconstruct white supremacy and racism every day. I think that it's even more important that we talk about these things because of the times that we are in. We are in a fight right now. We're in a real fight. And the things in this film haven't been as global as they need to be. We're seeing people wake up for the first time and address the delusion of white supremacy. And what this film shows and what we see right now is that the past is not the past. The past is not even the past. And I think that will be made clear after you watch it. I think this film will make a lot of people uncomfortable. And I think that it should. I think that in order for us to grow and to create something new, growth requires discomfort. And everyone is feeling it in different ways. So my hope is that after folks watch this film, that it prompts them to do something about it.